Every inch of height you gain above the average, you'll make $789 more annually. Well, that's pretty good for me. So this begs the question, what is height's effect on all your different types of success? Well, taller men are on average more confident than shorter men. This is mostly from shorter men being insecure about being short and letting it get to their head. It also could do with the fact how they literally look up to people and are looked down upon by others. And the same way, tall men literally get looked up to by other men and looked down to others. We may like to think that doesn't go to our head, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Honestly, it's just a load of gibberish, given that real confidence is gained by the person, not by their attributes. There could be some short king, 5'3", that has more confidence than a 6'6" male. It just depends on how the person views himself. So don't get too butthurt about this one. For women at least, but probably men as well, the taller you are means the more likely you are to suffer from cancer. Which makes a lot of sense, because if you have more cells in total because you're taller, then there's a higher chance of one of those cells going cancerous. And with your body being so long, it's harder for your immune system to get all the different cancers popping up. Because people get cancer all the time, but only sometimes when the immune system doesn't do what it's supposed to do, is when cancer is allowed to spread and become really bad. However, short people suffer from more heart disease. Apparently, the genes of height are connected to heart disease in some way. For every 2.5 inches shorter someone is, their chance of getting heart disease increases by 13.5%. However, like I alluded to at the start of the video, this could also be due to socioeconomic status, where shorter men on average have less money and so probably have less money for healthcare. And realize every time I say men or women, usually just means the same thing. Every time I say that, just think more like tall, short people. Studies show that on average, taking other factors out of account, that taller people will have less longevity, with height being in a negative correlation with longevity. Probably something to do with there just being so much more of the person, and so it just stresses out the organs a lot more than on a more average sized person. But here's where we get to the fun part of the video. Dating. Studies show that a woman is most satisfied when their man is 8 inches taller than them. Saying the average height of women is 5'4", that means you'd have to be 6 feet if you're a man. So maybe there's some biological reasoning behind 6'6". But that means to fully satisfy a woman, you need to be 3 inches taller than the average height of a man. And a man is most satisfied when a woman is 3 inches or more shorter. And a strong difference between the genders, 14% of men only want to date shorter than them, while half of women only want to date taller than them. That is obviously because shorter men, and to some extent shorter women, are just seen as less attractive. Studies have shown that being short is a much larger negative factor than being tall is a positive factor, which you can kind of compare to like legs in the gym, where like your quads and thighs aren't that important for your aesthetics. But if you don't train them and you get these little stick legs, then they're gonna throw off your whole physique and make you look unaesthetic. And compared to the other two things I said, where there's advantages and disadvantages to being tall and short, there's really only advantages to being tall and dating. You could get a couple out-of-the-box examples of being shorter being better, like how shorter men have smaller frames and thus are able to build it out much faster than taller men. And as a side note, in the gym, taller men have a much more difficult time doing full ranges of motion, which I can kind of attest to, and suffer from more joint pain, discomfort, and usage. Tall men don't age very well. For one, their center of gravity is much higher than shorter men, and so will result in much more back pain and hip fractures as they get later into life. And like I was alluding to in the life expectancy part of this video, increased height has been shown to increase overall breakdown in the whole body. And a really weird statistic is that men under 5'2" have been shown to live longer than those over 5'4". I don't know what happens with the 5'3" guys, but I mean, do with that as you will. And probably the worst part about being tall is clothes. Short men can have problems here and there, but average and short men, pretty easy with that. But for tall men, it's really tough because clothes are made for men that are 5'9" and have a plus or minus of 3 inches when it comes to the height. So if you're someone like me who's 6'4", then it's very difficult to find clothes that even fit you. And usually you have to go a size up from where you are, and so it doesn't fit you as well width-wise. Like, I'm starting to get to the point where if my shoes grow one more size, they're gonna begin having to be specialty ordered because of how big my feet are compared to most people. But I'll stop my ranting. Lastly, as I stated in the start of the video, tall men make more money. Over 30 years, a man of 5'9" would make $160,000 less than a man who is 6'4". This could be due to a variety of things, whether employment bias, with tall people being seen as more fit for work, or some other bias that I don't understand. But it could also be due to higher college rates, where taller men and women both complete degrees at a much higher rate. And manager positions are usually 1 inch taller than their non-manager counterparts. So is height a good thing? Well, height can be good and bad. There are plenty of advantages in society for being tall. But I would say, given that on average you live less than shorter people, being tall means you experience less of what society has. Also, clothes aren't nice to find. But from a non-biased perspective, I would say being taller is probably a good thing. But who really cares, right? There's not anything you can do about it, so why the worry? Well, actually, there are a couple things you can do. Watch my video over here on how to grow taller. According to science and research, in my own personal ways, I was able to go from 5'3" to 6'3". Well, 6'4" now. I know you want to do it. Come on, clicky, 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 clicky.